I was just informed while on the helicopter that our president has finally released a birth certificate. The crowd was massive. That was all the way back down to the Washington Monument.
You're saying it's a falsehood, and they're giving Sean Spicer, our press secretary, gave alternative facts.
If you count the legal votes, I easily win. If you count the illegal votes, they can try to steal the election from.
I am the candidate of peace. I am peace. People don't believe that.
I can promise you this. I will always tell you the truth.
That was intense. I mean, you can't get past the lies. But what if that was the point? Like, what if this was all planned? The chaos, the confusion, the fact that we all kind of walk away not really knowing what's true anymore. What if that was the point? It's a really simple idea, kind of genius if you think about it. The idea isn't to convince people that your lies are true. The idea is to flood the zone with so many lies, so many pieces of misinformation, so much BS that people stop trusting everybody in authority. People eventually just say, F it. You can't believe anything. Truth becomes subjective. It's effective because here's the thing about humanity. Uncertainty is very uncomfortable. And when people are uncertain and they don't know what to believe, they don't stay centered. They go into their corners. They either check out entirely or they find a tribe that tells them what to believe. Sounds familiar? I want to be precise here. Very precise. Because that's kind of the point I'm trying to make. I'm not saying every lie is some coordinated conspiracy. What I'm saying is that some people understood how this worked and used it deliberately. Steve Bannon, Trump's former strategist, said this part out loud.
It gets to be a psychological thing. They don't even know what to choose and picking. You see it by the coverage. They're overwhelmed. They don't know where to turn. They don't have the normal levers of power they could grab. And so they're kind of adrift.
Said plainly by the man that helped engineer the most disruptive political movement possibly in American history. I mean, except for the Confederacy. So let's actually break down how this works. Barack Obama was born in Honolulu, Hawaii on August 4th, 1961. This is a fact confirmed by every credible agency that has any access to this information. It's a fact. But Donald Trump spent 5 years insisting that that wasn't true. But here's the thing. The lie was never about Barack Obama's birth certificate. Nobody that pushed birtherism needed you to believe that Barack Obama was actually born in Kenya. What they needed was for you not to be sure he was born in Kenya. They needed to make just enough noise to guarantee a certain percentage of people would sit back and say, I'm not sure about this Barack Obama guy. I heard he wasn't born in America. That's it. That's the move. And that's actually called manufactured doubt. And that's not a new strategy. It was used by the tobacco industry for decades. They needed to prove that cigarettes were healthy, or at the very least, not as bad as the science said it was. So they flooded the zone with all types of misinformation just to make it cloudy enough for people to have doubt. Just enough conflicting research put out there so enough people would sit and say, the science isn't settled. Sounds familiar? Now, here's where it gets complicated, and I want to be very careful with this one, because this is a doozy. Jeffrey Epstein was a real monster with real victims real corruption, and a mysterious death that was worthy of investigation. The concerns of a cover-up, legitimate. And all that makes this case study all that more interesting. Because what happens next is the corruption of a real scandal. The Epstein story had real victims, like I said, legitimate concerns, but a couple of weeks after his death, it got covered by the fog of conspiracy. Here's the cruel reality around what happened to the Epstein scandal. You surround a real scandal with enough doubt, enough noise, the truth becomes unreachable from either side. Now, if you say this deserves investigation, some people are going to call you a conspiracy theorist. And if you say this is all a conspiracy theory, you're letting real criminals off the hook. This fog of conspiracy doesn't just hide the story. It protects everyone who wants to hide inside of it. The third case study is the most recent one. During the correspondent's White House dinner, a gunman rushed past security. Thankfully, he was stopped before anyone was killed. Unfortunately, I believe a Secret Service officer was shot. But within an hour of it happening, all the conspiracies started to circle. Was it staged? Did Trump do this to distract from the Epstein files, from the Iran war? Was it an excuse for his ballroom? Some questions were legitimate. Some were fabricated. But in this environment that's been created by Trump, who can ever tell? Now, millions of people have their own version of the truth, depending on which tribe they're in, their political beliefs. We're almost to a point where facts just can't penetrate anymore. Now, I want to talk about your crazy uncle or your strange coworker or your friend from high school who used to be quite normal, but now they're posting about the pandemic or the flat earth or staged assassination attempts. All the people I mentioned just now can be some of the smartest people on earth, but conspiracy thinking isn't about intelligence. Some very smart people believe in flat earth. Some very smart people are vaccine skeptics. It's really about a specific type of distrust of institutions combined with our own pattern recognizing brain being fed bad information. Our brains are made to recognize patterns. It's a feature, not a bug. Our ancestors used that pattern recognition to keep us safe in the wilderness, to help us navigate from place to place. But that also means that when you're surrounded with enough uncertainty, your brain is going to construct an explanation. Your brain will find a pattern, even if that pattern is based on false information. Now, take that very human tendency and combine it with the fact that every institution, every media source, every expert at this time has been systematically discredited by people in power or people with a platform. Fake news, deep state, mainstream media can't be trusted. Follow the real science. Here's my favorite. I did my own research. Each one of those phrases repeated over and over again for years does one thing. It trains people to reject credible sources while at the same time being hungry for more and more false information. If CNN's lying, if the government's lying, if your doctor's lying, then who can you trust? Whoever's left. Whoever can speak to your distrust. Whoever says, I know they don't want me to say this, but here's what I've heard. Now, for the people doing this deliberately, success doesn't look like now everybody believes Trump. That was never the goal. Trump's base knows he lies. They know he exaggerates. And over time, they've come to actually like that about him. They're okay with it. Just ask them. They'll tell you Trump's our liar. Everyone lies. At least he's lying for us. That's the point. When nobody's credible, when every source has been pre-contaminated, when doing your own research replaces listening to the actual experts, the person in power wins by default because they don't need to be trusted. They just need their opponents to be equally as distrusted. A survivor of Nazi Germany said that the ideal subject of authoritarian rule isn't the true believer. It's the person for whom the distinction between truth and fiction no longer exists. Because that person can't organize, can't coordinate, can't build coalitions around shared reality. They're too busy arguing about what's real and not real. And while they're arguing, policy gets made, power gets consolidated, and the people who engineered the confusion get exactly what they always wanted. So what do we do with this? I'm not going to tell you to trust the media or the government. That's really not my point, to be honest with you. What I'm trying to get across to you is when you see a story that makes you feel 100% certain that you're right, move slow. When you see a story that makes everyone look equally corrupt, try to figure out who really benefits from that framing. When you feel the urge to say, well, nobody knows anything, try to remember that feeling, more likely than not, was manufactured. Peace.